When the war came, I did not seek command for its own sake. I had already seen enough of war to understand what command truly required. I had learned, long before the first shots of this conflict, that men are not shaped for battle by enthusiasm alone. They are shaped by discipline, by preparation, and by leadership that does not flinch when the cost becomes clear. When I was given the opportunity to lead a regiment raised from my home state of New York, I accepted it with a single purpose: to bring to those men whatever experience I possessed, so that they might be better prepared for what would be asked of them. Those men would be expected to fight. Some would be asked to die. They deserved leadership that understood that truth without sentiment or illusion. Thus began my association with the 130th New York State Volunteer Infantry. The regiment was mustered into federal service on the second day of September, 1862. Its companies were drawn from the counties of Allegany, Livingston, and Wyoming, men from farms, villages, and small towns who had answered the call with little sense of what lay ahead. They came as civilians, but they would not remain so for long. From the beginning, my concern was not spectacle, but readiness. At Suffolk, Virginia, the regiment learned the realities of military life. Drill repeated until it became instinct, inspections that tolerated no carelessness, and the long stretches of waiting that test resolve more quietly than battle. There, the men learned that war is not lived only in moments of violence, but in endurance, day after day, under discipline and expectation. Yet the war did not remain static, and neither could we. In the summer of 1863, the regiment was ordered into the mounted service. This was not a reward nor an experiment. It was a necessity. Infantrymen were required to become cavalrymen, learning horsemanship, the carbine, the saber, and the difficult art of fighting both mounted and dismounted. The transition demanded more of them than many units were ever asked to give. When the regiment was redesignated the First New York Dragoons, the name carried meaning. A dragoon is not merely a rider. He is expected to move rapidly, to fight on foot when required, and to adapt without hesitation. It is a role that demands judgment, discipline, and resilience in equal measure. The men learned those demands quickly, because the campaign allowed no alternative. As dragoons, they entered the hardest fighting of the war. They fought dismounted at Todd's Tavern, where their losses were among the heaviest suffered by any cavalry regiment in a single engagement. They rode with Sheridan through the wilderness, to the James River, at Cold Harbor, Trevilian Station, and into the Shenandoah Valley. They endured repeated combat, long marches, and constant depletion, yet remained reliable when called upon. They were trusted because they had proven themselves. The regiment served in the Army of the Potomac, in the Cavalry Corps, and later in the Army of the Shenandoah. Across nearly 65 engagements and skirmishes, the First New York Dragoons earned a reputation not for reckless courage, but for steadiness under pressure. That reputation was their true distinction. When the regiment was mustered out in June of 1865, the cost of its service was unmistakable. 274 officers and men were lost, killed in action, mortally wounded, taken by disease, or dead in captivity. These were not numbers recorded for effect. They were men who had stood in ranks, answered roll calls, and carried the weight of war until they could carry no more. What defines the First New York Dragoons is not a single battle, nor a change of designation. It is the willingness of ordinary men to accept extraordinary demands and to meet them with discipline, adaptability, and resolve. If there is purpose in preserving this history, it is to remember that these were not abstractions. They were citizens who became soldiers, and soldiers who bore the full cost of service to the nation they believed must endure. This is the story of the First New York Dragoons. It is not merely a record of what they did, but a testament to what was asked of them and what they gave in return. I remain, as always, your obedient servant, General Alfred Gibbs.